Hi, my name is Bo Hodge, and this is assignment number 7 for Public Speaking 150, and my topic is government surveillance. So the idea to me, when I first got to college, of being on my own was really appealing, and I liked the idea of feeling independent. But it was early on my freshman year, I came across an Edward Snowden article, and after reading it, there was a lot of mixed emotions, and it led me to asking the question, are we really alone? So for those of you who don't know Edward Snowden, he was an American computer professional, and he was an employee for the CIA. And in 2013, he leaked NSA information about global surveillance programs. So the NSA is the National Security Agency for the USA, and this program wasn't solely run by the NSA, but there was also, European countries involved, Chinese countries involved, and it revealed numerous global surveillance programs, and they were being run in different ways, whether it be a cell phone, computers, telecommunication providers. And with this topic, it's really there's not many gray areas with it. People are really either against it or they're kind of for it. And Edward Snowden, to some, is a patriot, and to others, he's a traitor. So he's been called both names on each end of the spectrum. To me, though, after reading it and kind of pondering the idea of this government surveillance, I agree with it. I feel like individuals should be willing to lack some privacy or sacrifice some of their privacy in order to provide safety or the possibility of safer environments for their country and other people. And to some people, they're like, well, why is this a discussion? Why is it so important? But if you really think about it, lives are at stake. We've had terrorist attacks and maybe even robberies are happening due to this. The ability to communicate over cell phones and all that, and no one's addressing it or monitoring it. So I understand the opposition's point of view. It's uncomfortable to think, someone's looking at my phone, someone's reading my text messages with my friends. But to them, I'd say, how close is someone really looking at that? I'm sure there's keywords that they're really looking for, and I don't think, they're going through Bill and Tom's messages about golf this Saturday. I don't think they really care about that, and I don't think, say they do see it, they see Bill and Tom are going to golf, I don't think they're going to read in depth to your conversations about it. And another question I think the opposition has is, this program isn't effective enough. It's not stopping things. 9/11 still happened, the Boston Marathon bombing still happened. But what I ask them is, for 9/11 specifically, was it around then? And then how do you know that it's not stopping these terrorist attacks, or maybe even just robberies? How do you know what it is stopping? It's not like the news is going to report on an event that almost happened. The news needs to report on things that have happened, and they aren't going to get audience just reporting, hey, this almost happened, because what's the point to report on something that almost happened? And then another point to it not being effective enough is, isn't it worth to stop at least one attack to have this surveillance around? Isn't it better to stop at least one robbery or one terrorist attack than to have that one attack happen? Because who knows if that one attack is of 9/11 catastrophe again. And so with bringing up 9/11, I think it's important to note that nearly 3,000 people were killed in that, and 400 of them were police officers and firefighters. And with the Boston Marathon bombing, which I mentioned, was a double bombing. 3 people were killed, 264 were injured near the finish line. And it takes me back to asking that question again. Is our privacy or your privacy worth more than saving a life, or even the chance to save a life? Is it really worth, I don't know how to word it specifically, but is it really worth being so self-conscious about it in a way? Because I'm sure if you ask someone who had lost a loved one to 9/11, or one of the injured or killed in the Boston Marathon, I'm sure if you ask them, hey, like, what do you think about government surveillance? What do you think about the possibility of it stopping attacks like this? I'm sure they would say they're all in, And it's unfortunate because we don't live in an ideal world. We don't live where everything's safe, where even this program's going to work perfectly. But who's to say that it's not going to stop something? Who's to say that robbery where the robber or the bad guy shot the bank teller. Who's to say it couldn't stop that? Who's to say that he wasn't communicating with someone to figure out what was a good time for him to go in? Who's to say that this surveillance couldn't catch them in the act of that? And maybe it's not enough proof to the opposition to stop someone or to arrest someone for that, but at least the government officials are onto it and they're aware of it. And so I just think it's important for us to remember, we live in a world of chaos and danger, and I think the most important part is to be proactive. If we're going to, stop seeing losses of family members, if we're going to stop suffering, the losses of little kids, in 9/11, there were plenty of little kids that were around the towers that were injured or hurt by it. When does it become enough to where we have to start being truly proactive in it instead of reactive?